In this video, we are going to discuss the amphibolic pathway. In our previous video, we discuss different steps of aerobic respiration, that is glycolysis, oxidative decarboxylation, Krebs cycle, electron transport system, and oxidative phosphorylation. Now we are going to discuss the amphibolic pathway. What do you mean by amphibolic pathway? In which both catabolic and anabolic reaction takes place. That pathway represents the amphibolic pathway. What we studied earlier, respiration is a catabolic pathway in which respiratory substrate like carbohydrate oxidize and energy is given out. Not in detail, we are going to discuss all the steps. In a summarized way, we discuss it. We proceed from carbohydrate, that is glucose. Glucose converted into glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate give rise to fructose 1,6-phosphate. Fructose 1,6-phosphate broken down into dihydroxyacetone phosphate and one molecule of glyceraldehyde. 3-phosphate is produced. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted into pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid is converted into acetyl coenzyme A, and acetyl coenzyme A then enters into Krebs cycle. This is the complete aerobic respiration, various steps of aerobic respiration. When glucose acts as a respiratory pathway, but sometimes fats and protein also act as a respiratory substrate. Then what happens? Main respiratory substrate is carbohydrate, पर कभी कभी अगर कार्बोहाइड्रेट अवेलेबल नहीं है तो दैट टाइम फैट रेस्पिरेटरी सबस्ट्रेट का रोल प्ले करता है, और अगर फैट भी अवेलेबल नहीं है तो इन दैट केस प्रोटीन एक्ट एज ए रेस्पिरेटरी सबस्ट्रेट. इफ protein act as a respiratory substrate, then what happen? Protein breaks down into amino acids. Amino acids converted into pyruvic acid, and then pyruvic acid converted into acetyl coenzyme A, and then acetyl coenzyme A enter into Krebs cycle. In this way, respiratory substrate protein participate in giving energy to us. One amino acid converted into pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid converted into acetyl coenzyme A, and in this step, one NADH molecule is produced which gives rise to 3 ATP. Then acetyl coenzyme A enter into Krebs cycle, and from the one Krebs cycle 12 ATP are produced. In this way, protein give rise to one amino acid, and one amino acid participate in respiratory activities. 12 ATP from Krebs cycle, and this NADH give rise to 3 ATP. So on the whole 15 ATP are produced in this way. But if protein give rise to 10 amino acid, then we multiply all this with 10, or net gain of ATP we will count in this way. But if fat act as a respiratory substrate, then what happens? Fat is converted into two molecules, fatty acid and glycerol. Glycerol converted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate, then it is converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, then it enter into the respiratory pathway, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate converted into pyruvic acid, and then pyruvic acid converted into acetyl coenzyme A, and then acetyl coenzyme A enter into Krebs cycle. If fatty acids are produced by the breakdown of fats, then fatty acid converted into acetyl coenzyme A by beta oxidation, and then this acetyl coenzyme may enter into Krebs cycle. Fatty acid maybe 1, 2 or 3 are produced by breakdown of fat. If fat is monoglyceride, then 1 fatty acid is produced. If fat is diglyceride, then 2 fatty acids are produced, and if fat is triglyceride, then 3 fatty acids are produced. On beta oxidation, 1 fatty acid converted into acetyl coenzyme A, which enters into the Krebs cycle. So 12 ATP are produced here. Glycerol converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which is converted into pyruvic acid. In this step, 2 ATP and 1 NADH molecule are produced, and then pyruvic acid converted into acetyl coenzyme A, 1 NADH molecule is produced here, then it is entered into Krebs cycle. 1 Krebs cycle give rise to 12 ATP. In this way ATP are counted. So number of ATP produced depends on the respiratory substrate. If the respiratory substrate is glucose, then 36 ATP are produced. So in this way we can count the number of ATP. Respiratory substrate may be glucose, protein or fat. What we study, that respiration is a catabolic reaction in which breakdown of respiratory substrate takes place. Glucose का breakdown होता है, fat का breakdown होता है, protein का breakdown होता है, and they release energy. But what we are observing here, the bigger molecule breakdown and converted into simpler substances and energy is released. So it is a catabolic process. But in the reactions, some bigger compounds are also synthesized, which are utilized in other metabolic pathway. So some substances are also synthesized here. So it is a anabolic pathway also. That's why we called respiration as a amphibolic pathway, because breaking down of some processes takes place, some substances are break down, so it is a catabolic pathway, but some substances are also synthesized, so it is a anabolic pathway, in which we can say respiration is a amphibolic pathway. This is all about in this video.